like to call this meeting to order, and may we please begin by standing and saying the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we do the roll call and state whether you have a conflict with anything on the schedule today.
Bob Howell, no conflict.
Martin Carpenter, no conflict.
Susan T. Adams, no conflict.
Holly Powell, no conflict.
Craig Kennedy, no conflict.
Tawana, there is something for disruptive behavior over by the door, correct? So I don't have to go into anything, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we have has anyone signed up for public comment? So now we will go into Tawana presenting to us we'll do the secretarial duties. And we need a resolution.
Get a resolution, we'll discuss it.
One, looking for it, so I'll have it.
It's in the second page.
Got it. We will now have a discussion about the resolution to delegate secretarial duties to the staff.
How about I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution to delegate secretarial duties to the staff.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to bring up a few items for discussion. I would like to add to the second paragraph, which says, whereas after staff have completed meeting minutes, they are to be reviewed by board members. I would like to add, they are to be reviewed by the secretary and then by board members. And then we need to change the last paragraph to say, therefore be it resolved that the Moore County Board of Elections does hereby delegate the drafting of meeting minutes to county board staff.
You said that last one, yeah.
The Moore County Board of Elections does hereby delegate the drafting of meeting minutes to the county board staff.
Gotcha.
I guess, am I making a motion to amend the resolution? I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to amend the presented resolution. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And in our packet, we have next the director's duties. And we all had a chance to read over this.
I'll make a motion that we accept the duties of the Director of Elections
Second.
So now we discuss it. You got any edits you want to make? I see some notes in there.
I did want to ask whether anybody feels there's a contradiction between the first and second paragraphs, where the first paragraph says, under the general supervision of the members of the board. Then the next paragraph says the director shall oversee and guide. Do you feel there's a conflict there, or is it clear that we provide the general supervision? And under that, the director oversees.
Let me read this again.
This is much different than the duties were in our last tenure as board members. And I like the way this is working, except for that, just that one question.
Holly, could you restate what your revised version of?
Well, I didn't actually revise it, although we could just. I'm concerned about you saying we have general supervisory duty, and then we say she shall oversee and guide.
Right, I think that's,
So,
that
So you
sounds
see
like a
that?
contradiction.
Yeah.
I think it's a contradiction.
so should we change oversee, or should we just strike oversee?
But I do oversee, I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't think it's should be conflict.
Because if anything happens and the state board has to notify me, they're gonna ask me, what did I see? So I have to oversee everything that takes place as far as the staff, the board, poll worker, county. I have to oversee all of that. So that's what I meant when I said oversee.
If I did anything, I would just strike the word guide. You are to oversee the effective implementation
Okay.
of administrative duties. Board is still,
We still have the ultimate responsibility.
Right.
That's all I want to make sure it says.
But you delegate.
All right.
Pardon?
There's only certain things we can delegate, though. We can't delegate our responsibility.
We can't delegate our authorities, we can't delegate.
Right. And I think, there's a reasonable ambiguity in the understanding or the definition of what oversee means. And what Mr. Kennedy says, and what Tawana said, what she meant by this language was just sounds like have overall information, knowledge of what are the duties, what are the activities that are going on with this board and with the staff. But there's another meaning of oversee that implies that kind of authority. Administrators in an office oversee the work of the staff. But, so if, I don't want to drag this on forever, but if everybody's good with saying oversee means what Tawana said when she said, I have to know what's going on in case I get asked by the state board or anybody else, she needs to be able to report that. That's fine, is with me, as long as it doesn't contradict what we said about the board's authority in certain areas that we cannot delegate.
Should we put the word staff after Moore County Board of Elections?
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, because when there's certain things I do have to guide, like if a municipal election calls me and they want to do a DEC election, I have to guide and do that process as well. So there's different processes that I have to oversee, and there are certain processes that I have to guide. But the general supervision of an area where I don't have delegated authority, that's where the board steps in.
Right.
So there's 3 different areas.
I almost, to kind of flip around Craig's suggestion, that it might be more in line with what I think we're saying is to strike oversee, and then the first item would be guide the effective implementation, et cetera.
I can live with that, yeah.
I'm sorry, what, you want
To-
to strike over?
So, no, I want to keep, yes, ma'am, strike overseeing anything, and begin with God.
That works for me.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, you're guiding, you're overseeing, you're guiding.
Because that's what you do. You kind of guide what we do. I mean, we're not the experts.
No, not in that sense. So when I say like oversee, like I said, I always have to give an account for what everybody is doing. So if anybody asks me, if the board asks me, that's overseeing. If the county commissioners or my county manager asks me, that's overseeing. But then when I say God, that means if a municipal person asks me, then I have to guide them through a certain process. But then, like I said, with the general supervision, it comes down to making sure that those areas that are non-delegated to me, the board makes sure that's their supervision over me and the staff. So that's why I said there's 3 different areas. So that's why we put oversee, guide, and then the supervision of the board. So I'm not getting away with anything. I'm always going to make sure that the areas that the board oversees, they're going to know that this is the area that they have to check on. But I have to make sure that I know that what everything is getting done correctly too. So if something happens, if I have to report that to the board, you know that I'm paying attention and not paying attention to that.
I guess if we realize that we have delegated authority but not the responsibility, wait a minute. You can delegate responsibility, but we only have the authority. So as I look at this, there's no absolutes in here. Oversee, that doesn't mean supervise to me necessarily.
It's just overseeing. I'm making
It's
sure
overseeing, but
things are
that,
getting
when I think of supervision means something very specific. The overseeing, you're kind of looking over the process and guiding the process. That's how I look at it. We ultimately have the responsibility and the authority to take action if needed.
If we're not going to change any of the language, might we be covered in that expression in the second line pursuant to chapter 163 of the general statutes? And my guess is, though I certainly don't have that memorized, that it's spelled out which duties are reserved to the board and which can be delegated to the director, or probably goes on and specifies to the staff, like we did with the secretary.
Yes, sir. So anything that's not, anything that has to be delegated, you usually get the resolution that I bring before the board to delegate it to the staff, like the absentee meeting where we reproduce the ballots and send out the cures. That's something that we bring a resolution to because that has to be delegated by the board. But like when it comes to like doing payroll, I have to I oversee that. Or if it has like to do with the municipality or guiding them in their process, then I help them in that process. So like I said, it depends on what's taking place in what capacity I have to work in.
So if we want to accept it as written,
Do we have to, according to Robert's Rules of Order, do we have to do anything as far as voting and not to accept the changes we made and go back and accept the
It was
changes?
Well,
just
we
a
just-
discussion. We
yeah,
didn't
we were
actually,
just
there's
discussing.
another,
Yeah.
there-
We had a first and we had a second, we were just discussing.
so there was no motion to change.
Okay.
But I do have one other minor editorial. Under number 4, pursue innovative and cost-effective methods of providing election services, not elections services. So it's just singular election services. So, do you want a motion for that?
I do.
I make a motion that we drop the S off elections in item number 4.
And accept the rest of it.
Yes, and accept the rest of it as
All right. A motion has been made and seconded. We have had discussion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying
Hey,
Aye.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry. Because Terry didn't do it.
aye. You seconded it, correct?
Yes, I did initially, yes.
We now have the travel policy.
Yes, ma'am. So, as you know, we had agreed for the board to get the, pay raise for their, meeting, which also covered their travel locally. And so it was suggested by legal through the county to just make a resolution so that way this would cover you, that if when you do conferences like we're about to do coming up, this would be in place to cover the board to get reimbursement when you do go to conferences, to cover you so that you can get reimbursed back, that's all. And so I was wondering if the board had an opportunity to review it.
I make a motion, we accept it as drafted.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And Ms. Dixon, you have the one-stop bank.
It's in, you also have a copy in your grant folder with, suggestions. I'm gonna ask Amy to give some statistics from the last election. The reason why, we proposed, the reason for the proposal of the hours, we did 8 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, and the last required Saturday. Even though we do have 11 municipalities, 3 of them do not participate in early voting. We only have, which is Robbins, Cameron, and Foxfire. They don't participate. Between the other municipalities, between election day and early voting and absentee by mail, the turnout was very low. And do you have those numbers, if you could please let the board know?
So in the 2023 municipal election, 9,605 voters out of 41,766. So only 23% voted during the election. So when election day, early voting, absentee by mail, blah, blah, blah. Early voting, we had 1,938 people vote. The entire 14 days. Which basically came to about 138 people a day for the 9.5 hours. Which means one person every 4 minutes. So.
And what were the hours and days, the same as proposed?
No, we actually were open in 2023, we were actually open the second to last and last Saturday.
We're out 8 to 6.
Yes, on the 2 Saturdays, it was 8 to 3 on both of them. So we were open the second to last and the last Saturday. So a difference of 1 day.
But any of the hours for the weekdays, was that still 8 to 5:30?
Mm-hmm.
And are we at the same time discussing the location?
Yes, ma'am, just the agriculture center.
Okay, so it's just gonna be at the Ag Center,
Yes, ma'am.
and these are the hours.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a concern about there just being one Saturday from 8 to 3 that aren't during what could be normal working hours for people.
I will tell you, 75 people voted the second to last Saturday. All day. 8 to 3. I can also tell you there's only a difference, as of today, we only have 42,122 people within municipal limits, so it's only a difference of 356 people.
I'm sorry, there's 356 more eligible voters.
Yes, That's it.
What was the 42,000 figure again?
Oh, 42,122 voters that live within municipal limits. But you don't know, I didn't break it down to the 3 that don't participate. So Yeah.
So that's all of them, but like I
that's
said,
all,
Robbins will only do election day, Cameron will only do election day, and Foxfire will only do election day.
So there are 11 municipalities, so there are 8 that will be having municipal voting.
Correct.
I'm not sure we need an extra Saturday. I mean, we're gonna get the one Saturday and then 12 other days besides that on early voting and then election day.
I will tell you the biggest, the most active days were during the last week. It was probably a Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. That Friday, we did the most, 206,
How many voted on Saturday?
189, the last Saturday. The second to last Saturday was 75.
Henry, by any chance, do you happen to know what the turnout on the very first day of voting was?
114.
Let me bring up the possibility of, I'm not sure I'm sold on it myself either, but I'd like to hear the discussion on the board of, so I don't know if there's a requirement that we begin on that Thursday the 16th, but what about the option of trading the first weekday, that Thursday the 16th, and including the second to last Saturday in this place? Fewer hours, but it is a Saturday.
We have to start on that 16th.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The only options so the 16th, is required,
Right.
and that last Saturday is required. The only wiggle room they give you really is just the weekends, and that's it. And then also too, last year, that last municipal, Pinehurst had more of a contested race. And most of my races that I was sending you, most of the races are kind of even, so, except for one, but it's not like a bit of a stir to a degree.
And we don't want to make that last Saturday go longer because we have to get ready for election day.
And the board meets, to have also that last Saturday to help to see if there's any absentees so we can shorten our short list as well.
So that's not a good option.
Yeah, we've used that last Saturday to get ready for supply pickup and everything of that nature.
No, I think this plan is adequate for the municipal early voting.
Okay, let me throw out one more wrench. And I'll chime in since you brought up the concern about having only one Saturday and everything else was regular working hour, pretty much. I don't think I would want to trade out the Monday of the last week. What about the Monday the 20th?
You can't trade any of the weekdays.
Can't trade anything.
They're all required,
All right.
right?
Yeah, correct.
If it helps. So if you were to add the 356, say all 356 people voted, plus the 1938, only gives you about 2294, which means you break it down, it's like 177 voters a day and only 19 every hour. And what are the chances all 356 people actually vote? Or you can look at the contests of those that have filed. I haven't seen any real big.
There aren't that many races with competitive
Yes.
candidates.
Yes. So there's no big.
I mean, not that they're not competitive,
No.
there aren't that many candidates in
Exactly.
most of the
A lot
races.
of them are just one, like they'll just be, yeah. So we don't have any like high profile races this municipal. Whereas I feel like In '23, we had a big mayor race in Pinehurst. So,
So, then, when I first looked at the plan, it looked fine to me, it's the recommendation of staff is. The options then for folks who work regular hours during the weekdays, if they can't make it then, it would be that's last Saturday. And voting by mail, and election day when the polls are open later.
Correct.
All right,
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we accept the early voting plan as presented by the staff at the Agricultural Center.
second.
Any further discussion? If not, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Donna, would you please discuss moving the polling place in Cameron?
Yes, ma'am. So we had gotten notice that the Cameron precinct, which was at the United Methodist Church, was being shut down due to lack of membership. So the bigger auspices decided to close that precinct down. So I had been driving out there looking for a facility for the Cameron precinct, which is very hard out there. There's not a lot of buildings, not a lot of paved sites. And so I went to the fire department, which is the pictures that you do see in your notebook for you to review. Me and Annie went out there. Well, I went out there by myself first, and then we were able to get in contact with the chief in the fire department, met with him, and we were able to take pictures to go inside to look at the voting room that he was willing to give us. Look at how we would mark like the back lot. They had actually paved it and moved some things around because I think before all of that wasn't there. They used to park out across the street, so they had made some improvements to the fire department. And so this would be an ideal spot for the precinct to be moved to. It's just down the street in a curve. We just have to, look, make sure that we mark it well for everybody to find it. But they used to vote there at one time before and then it moved. And so this was the only location that kind of suited where it was a smooth drive, easy access into the front door, into the voting enclosure for the Cameron precinct. Now, I did hear, but I didn't want to take that chance that someone bought the Cameron church and they wanted us to come back. But my fear was not knowing what they were going to do with that church, and we'd be back in that same predicament. I didn't want to go back there and not know the very outcome up there. So with this being a fire department and knowing the chief, if we use some other fire departments that this chief is under, and he's really good to work with, I felt safer for us going here and being able to use this as a permanent location.
Can you explain where the curbside would be?
So if you look at the very front, the last picture, it says front view, where these cars, there's a truck and a black vehicle. Those three spots right there would be the curbside and handicap accessibility spots. The poll workers would actually park in the very back of the building, and then that would be the very side for voter parking for the voters. Only thing we're asking is, they will kind of park diagonally this way, and then they can turn around from the back and come back out. We're gonna block off the bay so that no voters block the bay area. That's only the chief access, is that nobody will block the bay for the trucks.
So curbside, they pull into a parking space.
Yes, they have.
And then somebody comes
Yes,
out.
ma'am, we have a designated parking spot.
What if you get a line of cars that are trying to come to curbside? Where are you gonna?
Well, Cameron doesn't, do they get that many people out there?
not during the municipal election.
But what about a regular?
Um,
Then I can expand it, so if you look, go, to the back, because I did look at that, see what picture that is. Hold on. In the very back, I can actually expand it. Back of the side lot, that whole back there, where the bay is, there is a side door and, a boater can actually go out to the very back through the side bay to get to a handicap accessible person back there. And they can actually come around in a U shape and go back out that way as well, if they come to that. So
Are we talking about curbside or handicap?
curbside.
Yeah.
So in the back here, the back of the building here. So if a car comes in, they will come to the back. The worker will come to the back, there's a door right here, they come to the back door of the bay. And they can do curbside, and then the car will just turn around and come back out to the main road that way. So they can loop around like we do here.
So you could do that instead of having them pull into those parking spaces.
Correct, if I needed to, if I think it's big enough to do that, yeah. So it's basically them pulling back this way, coming to the back of the building and showing you like.
I like that better. And then having all of these handicap spots to come in the front. For voters who want to come in.
well, and we have additional handicap signs that we can make more spots handicap if we have to.
And can you tell us how many voters that precinct has?
For me, it's
Within
only
the
200.
municipal, right, it's like
Less than 200.
125. So I think in 2023, I want to say maybe 60-something voted, if my memory serves me correct.
So did y'all look at or talk about locations for electioneering and whether folks could set up tents versus tables, or how might that be done?
So on the, we have those, really where the handicap parking is, there's actually a grassy area. It's not as big for them, and that's a bad thing though. And I didn't know that, but it would be beyond where the cars, because there's a plane right there, it's kind of shaded. There's some, if they're able to do so.
Like
Beyond
to the right of where the,
the black car is, yes, sir. So they could be able to catch them.
Where are the regular voters parking?
Like I said, I would have to flip it because the voters will come from the opposite side this way. It would be where the black car is, but I have to be careful because they be adjacent right up on the buffer zone from the front door. So it'd be kind of tight, or you would have to put them on the back side, right here. Because this is where cars would park, but I wouldn't want to put them in the way of cars. So I have to look at it again. I have to get a different viewpoint to see it. I can't see the flat above. But that was the same way with Cameron, they were right outside the buffer zone because they were right on the sidewalk. Because it was either in the parking lot or in the street because it's kind of tight in that area anyway.
And you'd have to keep that, which you're just pointing at, you'd have to keep that clear because that's where you see it, so your cars would go in.
So So it would be right against the buffer zone where the cars are on that backside of the handicap parking.
But you feel confident that you will be able to work out?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I don't get the aerial.
Did you pull up a better view? They might pull.
Looking at the aerial view.
If I may,
Yes, please.
looking at this, are y'all familiar with the B1 precinct, this, the senior center? Where we vote on 15501, kind of how that precinct set up. If you had that, it looked almost the same from what you're talking about. You have that area out front there for the electioneers. Even though not technically by the door, you still got a large enough area there for them to be out front, not interfering with handicap parking and stuff like that. It would almost look the same looking at the area.
Is it right behind the handicap parking? That's
It would,
right.
no, so there, you got the handicap, but then there is a fielded, I would call it a small field area. It looks from the aerial big enough to probably put 3 tents
Okay.
there where electioneers could be. But it would be about the same setup as what B1 is. That's just-
Measure it off 50 feet.
You can look at there, that whole area there, which is the
Just
same
I'm
setup.
sure it's like 50 feet. So right
Doors,
there.
there's no, yeah, that whole area should be.
Okay, the moving of the polling place has been presented to us. Do we need to vote on this?
Yes, and like I said, Cameron is very hard to find spot. A lot of the places are either churches or small buildings with gravel. And when it comes to thinking about people with handicap ability and wheelchair, that's the worst thing you want is somebody to try to push a wheelchair or a walker on gravel, getting you real stuck. So, this was the only place that kind of had everything with this, with that type of mobility was here. And like I said, they used it at one time before, and, they would actually keep the fire department people there. That way, if anything happened, somebody would be there to offer assistance with the fire department.
It probably has a generator already built in, so you don't have to worry about the power going out.
Do you know why it was moved
I-
away from the fire
Yeah,
station?
that's-
Well, then I guess I move that we take the staff's recommendation and move the Cameron precinct to the Cameron Fire Department.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. Why are we moving on to East Avenue?
Yes, ma'am. So we're revisiting East Avenue, because there was we had to look up an issue that had took place when the vote was done, and it was a state vote. And, getting some guidance with that from the state board, and a state vote is a yes vote. Board members have to vote on any matter that is presented before them, and that didn't happen in the last meeting. And so,
I'm sorry. It was a 2-2 with one
No,
abstention.
it was actually a 3-2 because Tony stayed the vote, she didn't vote. And with being board members, you have to vote, you cannot stay the vote. She didn't vote at all, she has to vote. So a stay vote is a yes vote. And
That's
so,
the guidance you got.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, so if she was a yes, that was a move.
It was moved.
Okay. It's hard to remember what a yes was. Okay. And we all left thinking it was not going to move.
Correct.
Okay.
So we don't need to do anything further than this.
Well, I just wanted it to be recorrected because in the minute, it was a no vote to not to move, but it should have been a move. It should have been a move, it should have been corrected to a move, and it wasn't. Did that make sense?
I kind of understand what you're saying, and that's because I understood what happened.
I thought that she abstained the first time, and told her she couldn't, and then she did vote yes, second, that seemed like what I remember, but could be wrong.
Carrie, help me out.
So she abstained during the first vote, which means it was, as Tawana has said, a yes vote. But then you guys did make another motion to not move it, and it was 3-2 as well. So
Yes,
I think we just need some clarification because we basically had two votes that contradicted each other.
yeah, because she abstained, that made it, yeah.
So that first vote, it would have been, it should have been moved. But then we revisited, we went back
So
over.
we shouldn't have had the second vote.
Correct.
And since we did have the second vote and elected to keep it there,
That vote.
now we have to redo it, and if we want to move it, we vote again, because now this board may want to move it, correct?
Well, the second vote shouldn't have counted because the first vote counted,
Okay,
and the first vote was a yes vote.
so we don't have to do anything today on that.
We just want to bring clarification.
Okay.
That's-
So it's moving.
Informational point.
I'm sorry.
Just a point of information and a reminder for future times when someone might be inclined to it, and we will not do that.
You got it?
So no action on that.
So, but is the board aware that in that situation, that first vote would have caused us to be able to move the precinct from the Legion to the facility, the church down the street?
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
So the first action would have caused it to be moved from the East Aberdeen Legion, American Legion, to the location that's the picture that we have. Okay.
So it is being moved,
Yes,
because that's really what that vote was.
yes, ma'am.
We should have never had the second vote.
Correct.
So it's on our agenda just for clarification, not for vote.
So two.
Okay, there's nothing else on the agenda. I'm seeing some hand signals.
I just have a question. For purposes of the meeting minutes, so for action item 1, the secretarial duties, we voted to amend the resolution, and there was a motion to approve it, but did we vote on approving the resolution as well?
What we did.
Okay, I just,
With the amendment.
Yes.
okay, so you did that with the, okay, that's why I wanted to clarify
Yes.
that. And we also accepted the director's duty resolution as well, correct? I know we did the motion on the drop, on Holly's correction.
And we did accept the rest.
Okay,
And the correction on the directors that, yes,
Just the yes.
Yes. okay, I just wanted to make sure I had my notes right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to thank everyone who has been here. I would like to thank the staff for their hard work in getting ready for having our installation, our swearing in the other day. I know you all worked hard on it, and it was very appreciated.
yes.
And I would at this time like to thank Bob Howell for his 2 years of serving as chairman. It was appreciated.
Yes, sir.
Not take it for granted, so thank you on behalf of all of us here.
My pleasure, thank you.
There being nothing else on the agenda, and
For adjournment. Okay, I was wondering,
I have a great big word that says motion. We have a motion and a second. Is all those in favor signify by saying aye. Meeting adjourned. No, I just was getting prepared. You see this great big word right there?